What's up, people? Just checking in, seeing how everybody's doing. Michelle says, I feel great. I'm feeling a beautiful connection. Connection's good. Doesn't really go hand in hand with social distancing, though. You might catch COVID. I thought I heard somebody say COVID-idiot on a regular radio station, which would be absolutely hilarious. I had some stomach issues the last couple days because I ate too much food. What did we eat? We had spaghetti squash, a really nice spaghetti squash meal that Andrea made us, and then I had a whole bunch of ice cream. I just ate way too much. And then I happened to have the day off from work the next day, and I just stayed in bed all day. So it turned out to work out. I went back to work today and pretty much was okay, but it took me like a day and a half to get over that. It wasn't an actual sickness, it was just I ate too much. I had a 24-hour bug a week ago. And of course, like, you can't get sick nowadays because everyone's going to freak out because they're going to think it's COVID. Even though COVID doesn't rightly exist. So I heard something about the stock market going nuts and GameStop, short sells, bailouts. I did not look into it, but apparently it's a big thing. Hey, Nigel. So it's hard to get sick nowadays because you're going to make people upset. Month-long flu? Jeebus. I was listening to a little bit of Kavassilis today. I'm not really sure why I thought of him, but he's an interesting character. I always think of my brother when I think of George because he's like way in deep down that rabbit hole. I like George. I like his spirit. He doesn't seem too terribly manipulative. He said that the power structure is centered in Australia, not the US. The earthly power structure, that is. But I don't know. He only has like 8 videos up, and they're all, the most recent one was 6 or 7 years ago. Oh, Andrea, if anybody doesn't know, has gotten her work into a shop. A couple of bartenders laid off from COVID decided that they needed to make their own way, so they went and opened a CBD shop, head shop type of deal. I forget the name of the city. It's about an hour south of here, but they put out an ad saying they wanted to host some artists, some local artists. So she sent them her stuff, and they went and had a meeting. They liked it, so they're going to have her stuff up for 2 or 3 months. I think they're going to let her list it at whatever she wants to list it at, for the most part, and they're just going to add 20% to the top of that. So that's pretty exciting. We want to get her into a whole bunch of shops around here. She's done pretty well with advertising locally as well. She had made a puzzle piece pendant, which was, I think, for autism. It's an autism awareness symbol. She custom made that for somebody, and then that person suggested that she should also just make them in general. So she made another one, and that one sold today. So I'm pretty happy for her. I thought for a second that the Biden thing happening or not happening was going to be meaningful for the energetics of the realm, but it appears that it's not, like, at all meaningful. At least not to me. Maybe he's signing papers and stuff. But Ehor sent me a thing that said the White House is closed. So maybe they did. Maybe they shut down the corporatocracy, the U.S. corporation. Maybe we're going back to countries being countries and not corporations. I'm not sure. That's like one of the things you find after you've been doing some research for a year or something. And it's also a thing that most people won't even understand when you try to tell them. First, they can't understand the concept that well, and then they wouldn't believe that somehow the countries have all become corporations rather than countries. But that happened isn't unusual because the economic system wishes to have a finger in everything that happens, every decision. And if something's outside of its framework, then it doesn't have control over those decisions. So, therefore, the best way to give it control over those decisions is have all of the countries be companies rather than countries. And apparently that's been going on since 1870, according to our 1871, something like that. But I don't know. I know that a system where everyone just keeps getting further and further in debt is not sustainable. I know that much. And it's interesting to, as a thought experiment, to try and ponder on what could possibly replace the cryptocracy that we have going on, the death economy. What could replace it? Or do you replace it? Do you just let the thing die and take life as it comes without trying to make some big, massive system to replace it? Spazzy is stuck on the rug. Need some help, kitty cat? Oh, now she's out. You want to say hi, kitten? This one is about 3 times as big as when you guys last saw him. Does that look like a kitten anymore? Are you a kitten? I don't think he's a kitten anymore. What do you think? Are you a kitten? Are you a cat? He's already as long as Spazzy is. What's up, Lee? Nisara, Jisara. Ha! You remember his name? They will demonize you for that talk. Which talk? The talk about the economy? You don't get demonized for any of that type of talk. You get demonized for simply expressing yourself in a natural way. Which is fine. If you think about it, back in the beginning, the original problem, which also bled on further into the economic situation, the initial problem was defining what is natural versus what is man-made or what is created, what is altered. And there are lots of laws surrounding what you can sell, especially with regards to things that grow out of the earth. If it's just a thing that grows out of the earth, you can sell it, but you can't patent anything until you have altered it somehow. So you can patent GMOs, but you can't patent like a natural raw sunflower that grows out of the ground. And then that gets into the whole legalese stuff where once you alter something, then you can now say, this is my patented thing. And the same thing probably could go with humans. Once a person has stuck themselves with a vaccine that alters their RNA sequence, then they can now be seen as commodity rather than living being. Yeah, we're doing good, Lee. Thank you. Natural law, common law. The government is not like, there's no such thing as the government. It's just a thought form. It's a collection of laws and rules that change, and then in the midst of it you have living beings operating according to their own selves. Well, you should have that. They've mostly been taken over and they're somewhat automaton-like now, but that's the general idea. People fall in love with concepts because they've gotten the wildness of nature to slow itself down and hold a certain form for a year or 2 years or 500 years. And then they have a feeling that they've tamed life a little bit. And they haven't. I mean, Alan Watts used to talk about university and how the whole insides, the whole guts of the thing will change over a 15 to 20 year span. In some cases, all of the staff is completely refreshed. Students are refreshed every 4 years, generally speaking. Buildings are demolished and new ones are put up. And what is it that remains? Just the name of the university. That's all that remains, and the memory inside of the people who went there. Even your body refreshes its cells every 7 years. Every cell has been recycled. Slavery system. Okay, I have a question for everybody to consider. If you had a choice, and your choice was you get to be in a slavery system where it's overt, where your slave masters are in clear sight and they have the brute force necessary to keep you there, would you choose that, or would you choose something like this, where if you dig enough, you can find out, and you still don't know for sure, you can find out that it's some sort of prison-looking system, and that you have to basically do X, Y, Z, or else you'll be out on the street. And X, Y, Z is not, generally speaking, conducive to a natural way of living. If you were given the choice between those two systems, which one would you choose? Yeah, of course. Everyone is free internally when they realize that spirit can be tamed, but the outward trappings of your life, what you have to do to put food on the table, etc., can be controlled and is controlled. So if you had the choice between an overt slavery system or a covert slavery system, what would you choose? And you don't need to say, oh, I want to have a utopia. I want to have a place where everyone is free to love each other and whatnot, because that does exist somewhere. It just doesn't exist here. We can't experience every single reality in one moment. You can, but then you can't move your arm to go touch somebody because you're also using all the other arms. If you try to become the whole thing at once, it all cancels out, and there's just meditation, essentially. This one. Because there is still innocence in this existence currently, I choose this. There is some innocence. There's a little bit. There are pockets hiding here and there. And of course, animals are innocent. And children are innocent. Even our own deepest core is still innocent. There's the core of us that isn't touched by anything. There are ways around it. What's up, Chris? It's better to know that you're being abused instead of this is normal and good for you. Take control with fear, be fearless. Alright, Lee, thanks for hanging out. Take care. They control with fear. So what happens when people become fearless? What happens when all of the fear has been burnt out of an individual, and yet they are still there, still operating within the society? How does that affect the whole? Covert forms of slavery can be worked around. I have friends working on fake vaccine passports. Yeah, we were talking about this also the other day. If forced vaccines actually became a thing, that would just create an instant black market for all of the things that people need to get that they are now not allowed to get because they didn't have their passport. It would be the same thing as the liquor prohibition in the early 1900s, except I think the backlash in the rebellion should be much higher, but being that most of the people seem to be in automaton mode now, it probably wouldn't be to the same extent of rebellion as it was in the early 1900s. You experience bizarre BS. That's what the Fearless experience. Yeah. Pretty much. You can't argue with someone who's fearless. There's no argument left. My biggest fear is for it to go on like this. I'm actually kind of surprised that this is perpetuated for as long as it has. This is surprising to me. We're working on a full and entire year. God wins. Well, there is a silver lining, as there always is. But to me, the most obvious silver lining of this particular situation is that the cards have been laid out on the table. There's no more question of what the control structure is or what its aim is. It's very obvious. All the cards have been laid out. You see that the response of the system to anything, like any questions or any challenging of the sort of bizarre things that have come out, the response is just, I'm going to put a muzzle on you and you will no longer speak. And these tactics are like bully tactics that you would experience in the 3rd grade. It's not like super intelligent. And brute force is not intelligent. It doesn't need to be intelligent. It just needs muscle. Power in numbers, power in technology. That's all it needs. I gotta make sure the kitten's okay. He's acting crazy. He cries when he needs to poop. Yeah? You start crying? Yes. Yeah, you cry when you need to poop, huh? Yeah. Very expressive. You're an expressive little kitty cat, aren't you? Yes. Hey, Mr. West, how's it going, buddy? Yeah, he's a great little kitten. They are battling amongst themselves, yeah. I think something that has always fascinated me is once you let the sort of hierarchical awe glasses like off your face, where you're like, oh my god, this person has so many followers, or oh my god, this person has so much money. When you let that fall off and you just listen to what people say, if you find someone who's in a position of earthly power that has still retained some mental coherence, intelligence, and emotional intelligence, and they can speak without simply being a puppet to whatever system, company, whatever has catapulted them into this position of power, if they have managed to retain wisdom, then I'm very surprised, happily surprised. But for the most part, the more power, earthly power that someone has amassed, they don't, for one, they don't really speak anymore. They're not speaking for themselves. Every single word that comes out of their mouth is a reflection of their allegiance to whatever system has gotten them there. Because coded, subconsciously or no, within that system is a code of conduct that someone must follow in that position. So they aren't even allowed to speak anymore. Go watch what anybody says on Twitter, Facebook, the news. Their filter just clamps tighter and tighter. And eventually there isn't like a self in there speaking anymore. Who knows what's in there? There's some like polished, PC, sort of fearful, always trying to better and further the group that they're speaking for. That's all there is. And there isn't much value in that. Especially to a crowd that you have conditioned to want the same canned, regurgitated bullshit. If you've conditioned people to want that, they couldn't come listen to somebody like me talk. You wouldn't be able to. There wouldn't be any box to hold all of their preconceived notions. We need a notion box. People like Aurora. Aurora is her own. She's completely her own thing. She's very rare. Have you ever read Violence is Golden by Jack Donovan? No, I have not. I made a delicious curry tonight if anyone wants to come on over. I'd come have dinner with you, Nigel. If I was still in California. You're in LA, right? I might be able to come visit. Might be able to come visit you if I end up visiting my sister in LA. I'm gonna go visit Jax probably sometime during the summer. So if I do, then I'll hit you up and we can hang out and have a cup of coffee or something. Not great, heavy energy. Yeah. I pity anyone who is wealthy or who has any earthly power. Yeah. You want to send it to me, Chris? Not sure we're dealing with humans. Yeah, I don't think we're dealing with humans. Or we're dealing with humans that have gone down the transhuman timeline and have erased most parts of their heart / self-autonomous nature, and they're trying to come back to figure themselves out, so they, or maybe they're trying to help other people not go down that shitty timeline. The thing is too non-creative to be human. A human wouldn't... If you think of a human writing the overall meta script, they wouldn't do something that is just like as boring as the COVID thing. They wouldn't, Humans are creative. And this thing is not creative at all. It's just obviously wants to eat fear, so it does things to help produce fear. It's very boring. I've felt horrible physically the last few days. Friends are gone too. I never had too many friends to begin with, so I haven't lost too many. But I've seen a fair amount of people flip and get some feelings hurt, and then they just float on off. That's fine with me. Full moon tonight in Cancer. It's very much a case of two separate and distinct worlds, because I interact with people on a daily basis with work, and for the most part it's just ordinary life. It's work and bullshitting and fucking around and chilling, which is how it should be. Like, if I were to have my preference, I wouldn't say, let's talk about the insanities of the realm and go down rabbit holes all day and try to figure out what the fuck we're doing. I wouldn't opt for that. I would opt for everybody has an understanding of what has gone down and how we got to where we are, and of most of the key concepts that most of you have learned during all of the researching. And you have a lot of, let's not do that as a collective, let's not do that, let's scratch that one over there, that one ended badly. You have that type of mindset, but it's mostly unspoken, and you just get back to living, because that's all you need to do, is remember to live in the present. It is something you have to remember. It doesn't come automatically, because you have been conditioned since birth to be constantly chasing the fucking carrot. I'm God, so worship me. Ha! You gotta go talk to Tate. He wants people to worship him too. That's an old and like worn out thing. I think most people are kind of over it. I know you're probably being sarcastic, Chris. Sending Johnny street sign, healing energy. You can't understand Tate. It's quite interesting to see some non-humans on the screen now, not just the low minions like politicians and celebrities. Do you have anybody in particular that you're talking about? Johnny? BJ here using Bob's account. I don't know who BJ or who Bob is, so I guess welcome to both of you. My travels down so many rabbit holes have served me well. I can discount so many things I witness in the realm. The most valuable thing I've taken out of all of my journeys and explorations of this place is gratitude. It's always coming back to gratitude. if you can remember to say thank you in general, just out into the ether, it opens up your present moment. Because it's very hard to be sort of mentally focused on achieving and getting and going places and this and that, escaping bad things, getting good things. It's much more difficult to be in that mindset when you're just feeling the feeling of gratitude. And also when you can have also a feeling of gratitude when you get that big realization that everyone is full of shit. Everyone. There's not a thing out there that's any better than any other thing. There's not a speaker that's any better than any other speaker. It's all personal preference. Once you realize that, then it's like, thank you that they're full of shit. Thank God. Thank God that they're full of shit. Did you do gratitude training? What's that? I train myself to be in gratitude. Every time I've ever gotten myself into trouble one way or the other, and I look back on my mindset leading up to, during, and subsequent to such incident, there's always a lacking of gratitude. There's always me grabbing the whole of some control stick and trying to steer the fucking thing. And I'm not advocating that we should all sit back and just let life happen, although that is a good way to live. I mainly advocate becoming more quiet in your actions and your imposing of your own psyche onto the realm. Be more subtle with it. There's much more power in subtlety than there is with screaming and yelling. I'm new, you just came up on my YouTube. New like today, Bob? I finally hit over 2,400 subs. That was very surprising to me. I had been hovering and just chilling out at like 2380 or something for two years. 2 years the channel experienced no overgrowth. And it came at the same time Dan was talking about finally getting above like 119 or something like that. Okay, cat. Baby. This is Spazzy. This is our first Kit Kat. Spazzy and Echo are going to make beautiful babies someday. Right? Yeah. Someday. Gratitude hides in distractions. I was talking about Jake. Horns, fur, face paint. Oh. The CIA guy? Blue heroin? Blue heron. She thinks most TV stars and politicians are CGI, full of entities and snakes. I mean, the Pope blinked out that one time. He was clearly a hologram. I had to make a frame for Echo's food bowl because he's so energetic when he eats and he closes his eyes because he loves his food so much that 7 out of 10 times he knocks his bowl over and we hear a big clang and then the food sprays all over and then Saki gets extra food. And we heard that happen probably 50 plus times. And then yesterday I made a little cardboard frame for the bull to sit in. So it doesn't happen anymore. I think it's going to happen for you. Time to wake the people. I don't mind. I don't really. I don't know. I don't know how I would feel if I actually got more subs. I've been doing this shit for like 4 years. And a lot of people aren't ready to like ask the first question about reality. So it's definitely like a niche sort of way of speaking. Gratitudes and platitudes. I need a change of attitude. I'm sorry that I lied to you. Couldn't stand the truth. Is the truth really that hard to bear? Is it? The only problem I ever had with the truth was its ungraspable nature. That was the only issue I ever had with it. But then once you once you relinquish the desire to grab it, then you're fine. It's only when you're trying to when the non-existent self is trying to grab the non-existent reality, that's when there are problems. They are starting to awaken now. Will need help understanding. Maybe. People have trouble accepting that, like, the body and the avatar system and, like, the stories that we tell ourselves. People have trouble accepting that itself is all illusion, like it's all pretend, 100%. The body, the stories, and the structure. All of these things we make up 100%. It's just dream. It's dream phenomenon. People have trouble with that one. But you have to go through that one to realize that there is something that exists as what we could call truth. And it's not just an aware nothingness. It's not just an aware void. It is something more than that. But it's very subtle, and you can't begin to even look into what that might possibly feel like until you've realized the body, the narrative, and the structure that we've made up here is 100% play and pretend. 100% of the time. That's difficult for a lot of people. That's why all of our stories, our creation stories, and the sort of like logic that upholds the daily movements, as a general rule, they are either one of two things. Really fairy tale and obnoxiously weird, or just practical and pertaining to mundane, physical, day-to-day existence. There's not a lot in between there because not too many people have bridged that gap. Once you've bridged the gap, you can be mundane and ridiculous and silly and creative, and you can just bounce back and forth between all these little concept like playgrounds that we've created for ourselves. And you know it's not like too terribly important which way the thing goes, so you're free to just move and play and dance and sing and whatever. Fuck anything that you want to do. But if you're sitting there worried about what the future is going to bring, because you're still like in this mindset, the death mindset of, oh, I'm like dying the second that I'm born, and what's going to happen, and am I going to go to hell or not, or what's my dad going to say? If you can move past that, then it's fine. It's not a big deal anymore. Justice would mean ruin for most people. What's up, Fabian? The truth, like the real truth, is it's like fucking hilarious. The actual truth of existence, when you actually start grasping what it is, and you're not high, you know. Because when you get high, you know what it is, like, but you're trapped in sort of like a grinding, mechanistic way of flowing through the eternal now, and probably horrifying. But once you come out of that, if you can really like get what all this shit is, it's fucking hilarious. It really is funny. It's like an eternal joke without a punchline. The punchline never comes. It just is a joke that keeps on going. Everyone's scared that one of many proposed punchlines are going to come and wipe us out, but they don't ever come. And even if they did, it wouldn't matter. What does it matter? And you can also add in, like, all of this structure that you like. You can add in meaning, and I don't mean like, oh God, everything means nothing, because nothing really exists, so therefore I think I'm going to make a story so I don't feel bad about being nothing. I don't even mean that. Like, the actuality of ephemeral stuff appearing as humans and animals and interactions, it's flawless, it's beautiful, like, it's unending, perfect logic. It's both. It's not like, oh, if we're just the void experiencing itself in a dream state, then we don't mean anything, or there's no value, or you don't need to descend into Camus' absurdism. You don't need to go be Nietzsche and kill God. Like, none of that shit is necessary. Just watch the animals. Like, how do they move? They're sitting in the same eternity that we are. They're not anywhere else. Same space. Are they worried? Alan Watts made a good point. He's like, if you end up doing away with God, if you end up killing God, in other words, the idea of some sort of divine order in the universe, you're just killing yourself. Because you are that. You're the divine order in the universe. Because once you're done doing that, once you've killed God, and you're like, fuck it, nobody created this, it's all just happenstance, or maybe it's somehow intelligent, but nobody knows how, then all you're doing is you're painting like a dark pallor over the existence, and now instead of just walking around and like living your life, you're walking around like, ooh, everything's so dark and depressing. I have to exist. God damn it. I have to do stuff and talk to people. Life sucks. You're just painting it. Any role is available to anybody. You want to be God, Chris? Go for it. You want to be the Antichrist? Go for it. You want to be some alien? You want to be a walk-in? Go for it. You can be anything. Anybody can be anything. And we believe people. When someone says, I am this, I am that, we believe them. Because whether they're making it up or not makes no difference. Words are all lies anyway. Supposing that truth is a woman, what then? I don't know. What if truth is a woman? Well, then it should nurture us. That's what women are supposed to do. They should hold our hands and give us our binkies. You know? We're in a lockdown here, 8 p.m. Existing is the only thing I have to do. Have you ever tried the alternative? Have you ever tried not existing? She only loves a warrior. What is Übermensch? Is that like the Superman? The Nazi Superman? Existence is futile. Fertile? Fertile? Fertile Myrtle? The problem with trying to put words on top of it is the actuality is way too full and abundant. You take any word and try to point out an aspect of the existence that word exemplifies in it, and the actuality is always so far beyond what that word could possibly say, and I mean all of them. Existence is good. It's so far beyond that word. Existence is hell. The hells are so fucking far beyond anything we've ever imagined. Existence is just void and nothing forever. It's so far past that. The actuality is always... The words don't do any aspect of it justice. Not a single bit. Tooth Fairy owes me money. Just tell me, Chris, what is Übermensch? We are weakened by words, yet we still communicate this way. There's not a problem with words. They are the best that we have. I mean, they're not the best that we have. The best that we have is probably physical proximity in addition to words. But words are also eternal as well, like the existence is. When someone speaks in words who is alive, every single sentence carries multiple universes within it. It's a way of one universe over here, like aspect of it, to connect with another one over here in the mental sphere. You remind me of my son playing with your beard. I like my beard. It's quite long. This is the longest usually I've ever let it get, so I'm thinking of doing no shave 2021. Superman wears his underpants on the outside. You know, like, this whole situation is also an opportunity for people to just, like, make fun of the situation. Like, wrap yourself in bubble wrap while you're going outside, you know? Literally put on, like, 10 masks on your face. Like, we're being given a template to bring, like, play back in. Because very obviously pointing out obvious logic, such as like masks don't help with viruses, or you know, particulate size, or you know, a flat piece of plastic doesn't stop microorganisms from flowing around it, or any of the logics that are obviously and intentionally flawed. Doing that does not help the situation. So you basically have leave to put on 10 layers of bubble wrap and walk into your 7-Eleven. You know? And tisk anybody who's not wearing the same amount of layers of bubble wrap as you are, because they're not helping the whole situation be safe. Don't be a mask Nazi. You put that on your mask? I mean, you might get disappointed if you wrap yourself in bubble wrap and go into the Walmart and nobody even, like, reacts at all. Like, at all. They don't laugh at you, they don't run away from you, they don't ask you what you're doing. You might be disappointed because that might be the reaction. But you know, it is an opportunity if someone wanted to play with it. Obviously, the thing just wants fear and conformity. So, like, you wouldn't want to give it that. That's just boring. Did anybody react to it, Chris? Did you get anybody asking you questions about it? The intention. Yeah, words try to convey the intention. They attempt to. And also body language, which is difficult to do. Facial expressions are very important when you're trying to, like, say something. And if you're covering up half of your face, How are you going to convey what you're trying to say? I get all types of reactions, including people that threaten fights, and I'm like, bring it. Mandatory butt plugs? Maybe. You got people wanting to fight because you said don't be a masked Nazi? I mean, that's pretty true statement. Masked Nazi, which is the intention of the Nazi. But of course, you're not supposed to be saying what's going on. That's the whole PSYOP. That's the whole intention of the PSYOP. Is to have it be the most brazen, blatant, in-your-face, sort of illogical forcing mechanism that could be foisted on the people as a collective, and to gaslight them when they try to say something about it. That's the whole intention of it. The truth doesn't want to be exposed in both senses. In the actual universal sense, since the Godhead, it hides itself in creation, it doesn't want to win the game and find itself, right? In that sense. And also in the other sense, the beast system. Well, I don't know what the beast system wants, actually. But technically, it should enjoy when human beings say, this is nonsense, and fuck masks, and they don't do anything, and then it can have an excuse to further the lie by saying, well, you're endangering all the other people by not wishing to wear your mask, so therefore we're going to shame you. Almost everybody's under mind control. Almost everybody. Literally 99.999%. But it's a fine line between being under mind control and somehow managing to hold the avatar together enough with some sort of semblance of logic to carry on a bit of a reasonable narrative. It's a fine line, and we're treading that line currently. We're currently treading the line. Beast system already has souls. We're already in it. It just can't handle us for the most part, so it's probably going to vomit us out. I don't even know that we could incept any further. We would just literally be like a digital cartoon, like flat 2D characters running around if we tried to incept any further. It's already as digitized as it can get. Some of us are programmers that are awakened to the fact that we were programmed. This horrifies the out-of-control control freaks. Isn't that a bit of a contradiction? Out-of-control control freaks? Shouldn't they be the most in control? The problem that one inevitably comes up against when they try to control things too much is they start off thinking that they want something. And the aim and the intent of all of the actions and movements are towards that end of getting a thing that they want. But being that they don't know who they are, what they're doing, or how they're affecting anything, as they move along into the trap, into the noose, they start seeing little hints of, oh, maybe this isn't exactly how I wanted it. Maybe I could have ordered something different, you know? And then somewhere along the line, instead of just, I want this, I want that, I want this arranged here, I want those people over there doing that, I want, instead of just that, they move into half of it is I wants, and the other half of it is, I gotta avoid this, and this, and the other thing. The sort of negative to self reactions that have happened from all of their moving around. And then once they get past that one, they go, at some point, the whole idea of I'm going to arrange this thing so I have all what I want and only what I want, that's completely gone. Now, and I'm talking about the control freaks, the rich people, all of them, you know, the spiritual, practicing wickedness and high levels people, beings. Down the line somewhere, it's just, there's no more I want this, I want that. There's just, they've cornered themselves with the horrible reactions to their selfishness, and they see it out in the distance. Some of them are closer, some of them are way the fuck out there. They see all these sort of karmic ping pong balls just coming back to collect some debt. And it's not exactly how they thought in the beginning. And at that point, for those people, for those beings, it's a great opportunity to like surrender a bit to the existence itself, because all those ping pong balls that are coming back are just themselves that they flung out in ignorance. And they're just coming back because they have to come back. Ain't nothing to do about it but let them come back. The Obey Police comes at you with some very bizarre tactics. What's up, John? Some people want to watch the world burn. There is no logic or reason in their need to cause pain and chaos. There is some amount of logic in it. If they can't get what they want everyone else to starve and be degraded. Out of control freaks almost snuffed out life itself, so the real owner is coming back in to destroy the intruder. Eventually we come back to our base desire of unconditional love. There are lots of situations where the beings who are supposedly doing any of this stuff have literally degraded themselves to such a point where there is no more self-autonomy and there's just reactions to try to avoid pain from either demon overlords or the elements of the control structure that are very intimate with their particular blackmail situation, and they're just trying to plug up all the leaks that are starting to sprout out. It always starts leaking at some point. And, you know, if they had some wisdom, they could just like stop and just let it leak. Like every single sensation, physical sensation, can be enjoyed to some extent, even pain. That's why we have people that flay themselves and torture themselves. We did come here for sensations. And every situation that you have logically sort of excused as being necessary for yourself for whatever reason can be enjoyed. Every single one. And I don't mean enjoyed like, haha, yeah, this is fun, I'm in so much pain. Or, TI's like, yeah, my brain's getting fried with microwaves. I don't mean necessarily like that. I just mean like you can remove the mental overlay that's yapping about what's going on and why, and you can simply sit in the sensation. It's not going to necessarily make it go away, but maybe you're being tortured and you're not even fully living the torture, and that's maybe what you need to be doing. Because it could open up new portals of understanding within you, which possibly could help you get past the situation of being tortured. Silent Hunter keeps quoting from Mein Kampf. Why? I don't know, you have to ask him. Feed true chaos. Change comes from chaos. There's no need to feed chaos. It feeds itself just fine. The actual level of chaos that can exist is not something that a sort of individuated spark of awareness would ever order for itself if it knew what it actually was. What is the logic behind the need to cause pain and chaos? Half of the logic is it's just food. It's energetic food for some beings. It's like eating dinner. How do you tickle the thing to release whatever it is that you like eating? That's part of it. And then the other part is the feeling that beings get when they see themselves issuing some marching orders and they see the people or other beings following them. There's some sort of joy that comes from that. Some people get off on that. The ones who are alive and who are literally divine sparks, when they come to the remembering and realization that they are such, they find that their core is literally an everlasting emission of energy. You're like a star at the core. And you will understand at some point why there are so many control structures around you and why you are powering this, that, and the other thing. And it's because you give off too much energy. It has to be controlled somehow, otherwise you'd just be in the endless, just would never end. So there had to be some element of control that came in. Is it logic or psychopathy? I don't know, you tell me. Ubermensch and will to power are silly quotes from whoever. Have you ever looked into a cat's eyes? Just try to see if there's like a mind in there, like. It's just wild. It's like the depth of wildness in a cat's eyes. It's like looking at a fucking galaxy in the form of a cat. They're just wild. Chris, you know you provoke people to some extent. But that's what you like. We give our power away by walking blindly without intention. They are very intelligent. Yeah, they're completely intelligent. Whatever our opposition in this realm is highly intelligent. It may put on a face of stupidity, but there is an intelligence in there that is somewhat beyond our comprehension, perhaps totally beyond our comprehension. And that's easy enough to see, being that the vast majority of people don't even know that there is a thing that's trying to do something here. Can you imagine that? With all of the things that are going on, there are a huge amount of people who will just, if you ask them, is something going on here out of the ordinary, here in this world? At all, like in the last year, last 2 years, last 10, 15, 25, 47 years, you think anything unusual has been going on, or this is just ordinary reality? There's a whole bunch of people that would say, just pretty normal. Just life. And I mean, they're saying that without, being a sage at heart, without really having full, deep, comprehensive understanding and grasping of what's going on. If that doesn't tell you that what we're up against is something highly intelligent, then I don't know what would. Only beyond our comprehension while we are trapped in physical. You can always reframe if you're not particularly happy with a narrative that you your own self are thinking. You can always reframe it. A person in physical prison could say, "I'm trapped here in this cage," and they could also say, "I'm simply here because this is a new experience that I haven't had yet." And in the second case, you're not trapped at all. You're there by your own free will. This AI, that's why we can reject it. We know it's artificial. They're extensions of television. The mind parasite actually, when you come out of it, if it tries to take your mind and you come out of it, it has just made you into a superhuman. If you get taken, then you're just taken. But if you come out of it, you are a superhuman on the mental playing field. So even the mind virus is not necessarily all bad. I'm here for the awakening. When all beauty dies, so does man. I think Andrea's back. My computer is probably about to die too, so I'm probably gonna wrap this one up. Actually, 6%. Hey. Kitty's heart is going. You made it. You okay? Old? Yeah. Oh. Oh. Oh, I did not read it. Okay. Alright, people, I'm going to sign off. So, thank you everyone for hanging out and for being reasonably polite to one another. First live stream I've been in yours, and it's excellent. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Just remember with the realm, as far as I have seen, whatever a whole group of people have come up with as a main narrative or as a prediction of what might be coming or anything like that, it has immediately removed that possibility from the potentiality field. So if you're trying to navigate what may or may not be happening, find everything that has been predicted and know that these are holes within the river that the reality itself is going to flow around. Alright? Take care, people. Go hug a tree or something. Hug your girlfriend. Peace.